Okay, we're back at the We Lead Empowering Our Girls second annual event. Came across this young lady. She just finished a workshop. So I had to run into her. I had to talk to her. And of course, the co-founder said, this is somebody I need to talk to, so this is very important. So what's your name?
My name's Clara Keily.
And what was your workshop about?
I was leading a Mental Health 101 workshop. I'm the outreach coordinator at the National Alliance on Mental Illness of New York City. And so I was leading a workshop on mental illness, different diagnoses, and how to have supportive conversations with folks who are struggling.
Okay. Now, that seems to be something very important, especially to young kids, especially to young women. Why is that so important right now?
I think it is definitely especially important for young people. I think it's really important to teach young people the skills that they need to support each other and to know when to ask for help and to have that knowledge of what to look for and know that if they're struggling, they're not alone. And I think especially in times when there's a lot of upheaval or a lot of conflict out in the world, I think it's especially important for young people to learn the skills that they need to take care of themselves and take care of each other.
Now, if a young kid, or especially a young woman, is going through stuff like bullying or family situations or things like that, what are some coping mechanisms you can tell them to reach for help or either just deal with the issue?
That's a great question. So I think asking for help is really important, but it's also important to know that not everyone is going to know how to help. And so if somebody's asking for help and they're not getting that support, it doesn't mean that they're doing it wrong or that there's something wrong with them. It might just mean that that person can't provide the support in the way that you need. But so it's definitely important to kind of test out, find people that make you feel safe and make you feel supported, and make you feel okay being vulnerable to them. And to find those people and to have that vulnerability and openness with the people that make you feel safe when you do it. But there are also things that people can do on their own. I know a lot of people, there's a lot of talk about mindfulness and kind of learning how to be present with your feelings and kind of ground yourself even when you're feeling really stressed out and unhappy, and talking to a professional can help you get some of those grounding skills. But there's also lots of books and self-help books that talk about that talk about those skills and how to get to that place. And then just anything that makes you feel good, and isn't harmful or destructive to yourself or people around you. So whether that's going outside and just being outside and being out in the world, whether it's wrapping yourself up in a blanket and feeling safe and comforted, whether it's journaling or writing about your feelings, or just getting into and kind of processing things that way. There's so many different things, but the main thing is to know what makes you feel good and the people that make you feel good, and following that.
Now, I'm going to throw a scenario at you because I feel this is happening a lot, especially with young kids. Someone who's going through it and they try reaching out, and it's like they're hitting a brick wall and they just don't know what to do. And at this time, a lot of other stuff is happening. Either they're hurting themselves or they do something that can mess them up for the rest of their life or pass away. How do you go about talking to someone and letting them know, somebody's always there for you? Because sometimes it's really hard to, to get them to open up for that. How do you handle that?
So I feel like there's two different scenarios there. There's the scenario of somebody who is feeling like they've tried to reach out and nobody has responded in the way that they need to. And then there's also the scenario of somebody who is just really struggling and maybe is afraid to reach out because they're afraid of what somebody's going to say. And I think the first scenario is really hard when somebody's tried and they just haven't gotten the response that they wanted. That's really painful and really difficult. And I think there is and I think kind of going back to what I said before, it's really hard to find the right people. But I think it's really important to believe that the right people are out there, even if you haven't found them yet, and even if you haven't found them yet. And I think it's important to kind of before you make yourself vulnerable to somebody, to see how they respond to other people, and really make sure that they're the right person before you give them that kind of gift of your vulnerability. But it is also a risk that sometimes you have to take. So it's hard, and I think that sometimes it's just about really believing that those right people are out there, and you just have to find them, and not settle for people who don't respond the way that you need them to, or respond in a way that makes you feel bad. And then go ahead.
I was going to say, is it safe to say, because some people, they respond and it might not be the right thing for you, but is it safe to say, like, if it doesn't feel right, if the person responds to you and it doesn't feel right, not to give up, just keep trying to reach out? Is that good to say?
Absolutely. And I mean, also know that absolutely. No, I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Because I know a lot of people went through it. I have to say I went through it when I was younger, but I had family, and that was the main thing. No matter what, I had family, and whether I told them or not, they was telling me already and stuff. So I definitely understand how hard it can be for kids. It's something about them, they feel different, or they're getting beat up, they're being bullied, or they're just not happy within themselves. I'm a firm believer that, and I'm hoping that's how the workshop went. Never stop looking for help.
Yeah.
And just because you're different doesn't make you any lesser than anybody else.
Yeah. And what I would also say is, especially for young people, especially if you know what you need and you know what you need from somebody, not to be afraid to ask for it. I think it's sometimes, I know a really common dynamic is, somebody will open up and say, I'm feeling this way, I'm feeling really terrible, and I don't know what's going on. And the person, very well-meaning, responds by saying, oh, well, you should do this, or, have you tried doing this? Responds with advice or trying to solve the problem for them. And often that's really not helpful. Often what somebody who's in a bad place needs more than anything is just for someone to listen and to say, wow, that sounds really hard. I'm so sorry you're going through that. To say thank you for telling me that, and not try to fix it or make it go away, but just to kind of be present and
listen.
Yeah, and to listen, and to not to relate it to their own experience, or to say, oh, I went through something just like that, but just to say, wow, that sounds really hard. And I think, sometimes you just have to ask for that. You just have to say, listen, I'm having a hard time, but I really don't want suggestions. I don't want advice. I just really want somebody to listen to me. Do you think you can do that? And I think it's hard to know what you need, and I think it's okay to sometimes to not know what you need, and to go to people and say, look, I'm really struggling, but I'm not sure what would help. I don't know if anything's going to help. And sometimes if you do know that you want a specific response or you don't want a specific response, sometimes you just have to say that and be honest.
And that's very important stuff. So if anybody wanted to talk to you or find out where you at, or ask you some questions or know more about what you do, where can they find you at?
So, like I said, I'm the outreach coordinator at the National Alliance on Mental Illness of New York City. We have free classes and support groups for anybody who's dealing with a mental health issue or is supporting somebody who's dealing with a mental health issue. And you can find out more about all of those services by calling our helpline. That's is open 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. That's 212-684-3264. And yeah, if anybody specifically wants to reach me, they can email me at outreach@naminyc.org if they have questions, or they can also always go on our website, naminyc.org, which has all kinds of information about the services that we provide and more information about mental health in general. And NAMI.org, which is our umbrella organization, has a ton of information on their website about all kinds of different mental health diagnoses and how to get support and how to get help. So I can also recommend that.
I want to thank you for taking the time. This turned into a conversation, so definitely I want to thank you for taking the time out and talking to me. And definitely, I'm glad that you're here, because this is something, a lot of organizations, they don't have people here like that and stuff, but this is something, if you reach one, it's a good thing.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for talking with me.
Anytime. And this is the We Lead Empower Our Girls event. We'll be back.